What's up guys, this is Heat. I wanted to do a guide for the CoC Ci cast on crit build I used in the Hardcore Talisman League that I call Fire Fury. Unfortunately, I ripped at level 93 with this build, but I did have the opportunity to run through high level content and a plethora of map mod combinations, and can say with confidence this is a powerful build that is able to handle end game content. An important note about this build, this is not a beginner's build, and in fact, I feel this build uses some of the most advanced mechanics offensively and defensively in the game. It also requires a higher understanding of gear and what limitations suboptimal gear will impose on the gameplay and the effectiveness of the build. Lastly, it's quite expensive, as most CI builds are. That being said, tread lightly based on your experience level with Path of Exile. The build uses Barrage to trigger Fireball and Magma Orb on critical strikes as its main source of damage. Defensively, it relies on CI and a high energy shield pool with Zealot's Oath for survivability. I try to incorporate newly introduced content from Templates into most of my builds, and this one utilizes several. It uses two trigger gems, Rolling Flames as an AoE and pseudo DPS increase for Fireball, and Fire Volley as a means of increasing critical strike chance and damage output. Additionally, it utilizes Talisman Amulets. I've alternated between two bases, Primal Skull and a Great Wolf Amulet with two implicits, Life Regen and Global Crit Strike Chance. It also uses the unique chest piece Infernal Mantle for insane DPS synergies for both trigger spells. Barrage paired with a high crit chance is used to proc Fireball and Magma Orb, which generally clears pretty quickly. With a 6-link setup, you will easily generate power charges, and the general flow is you point and cast Barrage as needed, then move on. The mechanics of cast on crit and the two spells allow for your character to follow the spells for a short distance while they travel and continue to kill enemies. Meaning in short bursts and situations, the build will clear while you are in a passive moving state. When the character is able to utilize a 6-link, the Curse Assassin's Mark, which increases your base crit chance and gives you a more damage multiplier, is used sparingly against tanky blue packs, rares, bosses, and map mods that inherently increase the tankiness of all mobs to a degree that warrants the use of Assassin's Mark. Defensively, we use two auras, Discipline and Arctic Armor, and it also has a perpetual ES regen through the Keystone passive Zealot's Oath. A note on having a 5-link versus 6-link with power charge on crit. The build is considerably more clunky and doesn't feel as efficient with only a 5-link, because it adds an extra action to the engagement process, namely Assassin's Mark that your character has to perform before using Barrage. Having a 6-link is required for a smooth, efficient experience, but still manageable with a 5-link, less so in groups. Because this is a CI build, high energy shield items are required. Furthermore, because this is a crit based build using an attack, high accuracy is preferred on several gear slots. Accuracy is extremely important for critical strike builds because mechanically it's rolled or checked twice, once for the hit and once for the crit strike confirmation. Do not neglect this stat, and I can't stress its importance enough. I have elected to have accuracy on my helm, gloves, and one ring. The general theme is high ES, accuracy, and resistances. The shield could use an upgrade because the base isn't useful, but rolls like spell crit chance and spell damage on a shield slot are optimal. Infernal Mantle is the best in slot because it provides a nice damage boost from the percent fire damage and +1 to fire gems. Ideally, level 21 gems would maximize this build's potential, but I think I was the only one in the league trying a 21 and Magma Orb, so I couldn't buy one and I wasn't successful at creating one myself. Alternatively, you can use a high ES chest if a 6-link unique is out of your budget. Rainbow Strides are a decent choice for CI builds, and they provide a small synergy with Rumi's Concoction Flask. In terms of flasks, I use two resistance flasks, and Surgeons is still a strong choice for crit builds even with the recent nerf. Because this build is not using an item to prevent freeze, which CI builds fall victim to, immunity to chill and freeze should be also rolled on at least one flask. The Diamond Flask is a preference flask, but I feel like it's a significant DPS buff due to the increased frequency of crits it provides. It's especially useful for bosses. Personally, I feel Rumi's is a better choice for CI builds than a normal Granite Flask because of the added defensive utility it has with block and spell block. For a weapon, you want a good wand with high attack speed and a high base crit chance. Other favorable rolls are spell crit chance and spell damage. So in terms of links, here's what we have. Arctic Armor, Discipline, Enfeeble. On my helm I have Flame Dash, Summon Ice Golem, Faster Casting, and Minion Life. On my chest, in a 6th link, I have Barrage, Fireball, Magma Orb, Cast on Crit Strike, GMP, and Power Charge on Crit. In my shield, I have Cast when Damage Taken, GMP, and Arctic Breath. In my boots, I have Vol Discipline, Wrath, Frostwall, and Increased Duration. And lastly, on my gloves, I have Assassin's Mark, Frenzy, LMP, and Magma Orb. There are several themes you'll see in the tree, one being high ES. You will see notables like Arcane Focus, Infused Shield, Nullification, and Void Barrier. Another theme is accuracy, and this is why you see passives allocated in the wand wheel, notables like Precision and Depth Perception. Then we have a focus on critical strikes from passives like Annihilation, Assassination, Trickery, Doomcast, passives in the wand wheel and Depth Perception. Zealot's Oath bypasses the mechanical limitations of ES by providing an instant and perpetual ES regen. So we also have passives that synergize with Zealot's Oath like Growth and Decay, Sanctity, and the 3 regen passives beyond Sanctity. Lastly, we have DPS and AoE passives like Blast Radius, Amplify, and Explosive Impact. In terms of jewels, we are using Volley Fire here, Rolling Flames here, and an ES plus crit based jewel here. The tree would look slightly different at 95, picking up Shaper and Foresight. I hope you guys learned something and enjoyed the build guide. Thanks for watching.